Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. Today we have Andrew as our co-host, usual co-host. Me and Andrew today. How you doing, Andrew? You good?
I am good. Obviously, the UK had some bad news yesterday with the Queen passing away, so a bit of a somber mood in the UK and probably all the other Commonwealth countries as well and around the world.
Yeah, as you said, like it's quite. I think raw is the word to use. It's not. Just been over 12 hours probably since we found out, 12, 15 hours. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird time in the country, and I just want to pay a quick tribute on behalf of the podcast and stuff. We very much do women in tech, but if you want to look at someone who's a woman who inspires nearly a lot of like everyone around the world, it was the Queen. And yeah, so let's try to raise the mood.
Right.
Let's try to raise the mood a little bit and just welcome our guest today, Miriam Riaz, who is a cloud solutions architect working at Microsoft. How you doing, Miriam? You good?
I'm okay. Thank you. Yeah. And just to add on Queen, I think the two things I like about her and will continue to do is she was consistent and persistent, very patient. And it's not easy for her to be in a position that she was to have that quality throughout her longest reign. So there's something to learn from how she carried out herself for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if you're not a royalist or anything like that, I don't think you can have anything but, I don't think you can have anything but admiration for maybe the job that she's done for such a long period of time. So yeah, but it's the world. It's this what we what we're born into, right? But
Yeah.
Miriam, give us a bit of like an introduction to yourself. Tell us what you do. Microsoft and your job, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so as Miriam has said, the title explains it. I'm a cloud solution architect in Microsoft. I mainly work on public sector and is Azure core, so everything infrastructure. My passion is networking and recently in AVD, but I cover everything that my customer is looking for, has got a strategy for, so driven by customer, basically, what our learnings are. So every day could be a new day or the same day, we can't really predict, but that's what we do here. Yeah.
Definitely. It must be quite tough because everyone knows whenever there's a problem, it's always networking.
Oh, yes. And it's sometimes just like 10 dot, 2 dot, something that, you just the eye is not going to catch. So, and the reason I went into networking is because my background was on-prem networking from my previous, role and company. So I kind of like extended that experience in Microsoft and make the most out of it, because networking principles are the same. They don't really change. It's just about what's available in the cloud and what's available on-prem and how do you connect it. So, but I find it quite interesting, to be honest. Yeah.
No, I'm only joking. It's not always networking. Sometimes it's DNS. That's always.
When I hear DNS, it means trouble. So to me, yeah. So yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Cool. So I'm just reading through your notes and stuff that you sent through beforehand to the show. It's really interesting, and I think we're gonna have a good episode here. You were born and raised in Pakistan, and yeah. So tell us about, we haven't had anyone on the show, I don't think yet. We haven't. So it's a new one. As I said, every time we do a new episode, it's a new story, it's a different, and it's a completely different one again. Tell us about kind of your upbringing and education and kind of and then after that, what was your first love in IT?
Oh, that's my favorite answer. In Pakistan, I think it's kind of different to explain, and probably I'm representing here kind of like a small group of Pakistan, not probably the whole of it. The reason I'm saying so is because my parents were both in the armed forces. So you move from different place to different place, and you're not stuck to just one city. So I pretty much been in Pakistan, all the major cities, or sometimes in the middle of desert, there's just like a base and there's nothing there. So I studied in different places, different schools. The good thing about that kind of lifestyle is it teaches about adjustability. So wherever you go, you have to adapt with different people. Although it's the same country, but the culture could be different from one city to another. The language, the style of communicating could be different. So that I think taught us from early age how do you adapt and make friends and mingle among people. Another upside of having that lifestyle was that it keeps you humble. So it's not very, high class or not very, poor. It's just that it's a stagnant line and you just go in that direction. So I think I do represent, as I say, a very small group of how, kids are brought up in Pakistan. But I think the credit goes to my parents who allowed me to follow my passion and whatever I would like to do. It did take a little bit of convincing in the middle. So when you're doing your O-level equivalent in Pakistan, girls usually tend to choose biology because they want to be doctors, and the guys become engineers. The norm has changed a lot, but when I was studying, it was pretty much the same. That was a distribution. And so my family was, and by family, I mean the extended family, and that, yes, do get involved in your decisions. So my aunts and uncles and cousins, they were all having this kind of like same biology, go to bio study, go become a doctor, and say it's a safe route. They were pushing me to take biology in the O-levels and O-levels equivalent. But I was not happy with it because my passion was physics mainly, and then second was maths. I really loved these two subjects, and I discovered the love for programming in that time as well. So I kind of like took a stand that if you allow me to study, these subjects, I'll go to school. If you don't, I'm not going to school. And I didn't go to school for one day. And then her mom and dad knew that, oh no, she's serious and we have to, just let her do what she wants to. And now they say that they're glad. They're glad because I would be a very bad doctor, killing people probably left, right, and center. And yeah, so they're really glad that I stood up for what my passion was. And I think don't underestimate any person. They could be 12 years old or 15 years old. Sometimes they just know, and listen to them. And even if that's a mistake, that's their own mistake. They will learn from it. Don't make the decisions on behalf of it, make decisions with them. So after that battle or whatever, I did my bachelor's in telecommunication from FAST. It's one of the good universities in Pakistan. Then I did master's in University of Surrey, and then I did some research again in University of Surrey. And that's when I realized that I was doing a part-time job as well. So obviously I came from Pakistan to UK and I was supporting myself, although I did have a scholarship for study, but that's just not enough. And I became a Canon rep. So I loved photography, and I thought maybe I can do some earnings from there. So I used to go to PC World Careers and Jessups. I don't know whether they are here now or not, but
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Oh, good. And John Lewis, and I would just, the camera stands, I would just promote, what Canon products are. And that kind of interaction was really life-changing because I realized I love interacting with people and customers and really being passionate about what I'm selling. I love cameras. I love that brand, what it stands for. And I love that that dynamics of sales and interacting with people. That's how I knew that I have to drop probably the research path and go into like a professional job and find something that allows me to do the same. So with that, my first job was in Vodafone, and it was randomly chosen for me as a vendor management, which was good. It was a good change as compared to what I was doing. However, in 6 months, I landed into this pre-sales solution architect space. And from that moment on, I just loved it because to me, it's like a sweet spot. It offers you to grow in technology and then interact with customers. So it's a very good sweet spot for myself, and I don't think so that I can see myself doing something else. Maybe I will, but right now I don't. And then Microsoft comes knocking, and you can't really say no. And here I am.
So I say, like, I don't. It's I'm guessing English isn't your first language, is it? Like, your English is incredible. Like,
Yeah,
absolutely
I'll tell you
incredible.
why. I'll tell you why. Because in Pakistan, the education is in English. So you study Urdu. Urdu is a national language. You
Okay.
study Urdu and you study English from the start. So you know when your kid goes to kindergarten or Montessori, whatever you want to call it, they study ABC, and in Urdu we call Alif Ba Pa the same time. So you are studying two languages from get-go. So mostly in Pakistan, and I think the same is the case with India and Bangladesh, they are taught two languages from the get-go, and then it becomes it really is not a foreign language. Yes, it's not my first language,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not foreign to me.
Yeah, sure. No, your English is incredible. I think you've been here for 9 years, and like your English is unbelievable.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Because it basically is like not your first language, like 1.5, like
Yeah.
it's your first and a half language, I guess.
Yes, yeah, you can say that.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant. So kind of like Jessups, by the way, is still around. It's owned by Dragon's Den Peter Jones, I believe.
I think it is, yeah.
Yes,
It
it
is,
is.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So
I
yeah.
love him. He's one hell of a guy. Yeah.
So talk to us about that time. Like you was at Jessups. I know you got into Vodafone and stuff. Kind of like I know that was your passion, but how did you? What was that step to Microsoft? What was like the IT job that got you in there? Got you in there first after kind of being a representative for Canon.
So yeah, well, that was a part-time job, just to support myself. When I was looking for jobs, I knew I consider myself to be one of those privileged people who knew from very beginning what route they want to go, and I didn't have to really, go entirely different to what I was studying and what I was doing. I was studying mobile networks, satellites, communications, and networking, and I knew I had to go in that area. So when I was looking for jobs, I had three companies, on my list. It was, and I think at that time, cloud was still going on, but I wasn't really aware of or passionate about cloud. I was still very kind of like a telecom world, passionate about that person. So it was BT, KPMG. I'll tell you why I chose KPMG and Vodafone. So these are the three companies that was on my target to go for. BT and Vodafone probably because they are the big giants in UK, and they have a good graduate scheme. For KPMG, they have a good mix of consultation. So you do get to do different projects, and a few of my alumni already were there and they praised how they operate. So my target was just apply there, and whichever you will get, you go with that. So when I visited these three assessment centers, so as a grad, you went through a kind of like quite intensive process of interview and then different kind of assessments. And they call you an assessment center, which usually is their headquarters. The space that Vodafone provided, I really loved it. It was free flowing. The people were really friendly. They were really open, honest. What is good about the company, what is not. And I love that relaxed atmosphere where people are encouraged to be themselves. I saw a lot of diversity as well. So there were a lot of things that pulled me towards selecting Vodafone, and I went there, and I don't regret it. And I went through different stages in, I think, Vodafone personally. The reason being, I came from a very study intensive environment, and it was hard for me to adjust to like an office environment. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles as a grad you face, because you don't know how you can progress in office space, especially if you haven't done any placements and nothing else. All you know is what you have studied and some experience on the floor. So it took me around about, I think you can say, 2 years to proper understand how I should plan my career moves and what to say and what not to say, and because I was sort of a person, if I'm thinking, I'm saying it. So probably not the best approach for the
I'm like that, don't worry.
So and I think in that period, I think there was one special event that changed how I was looking at my career, and that was after 2 years there was an interview for promotion, basically within the team, and there were 3 people, and it came down to be a very minute difference, and I wasn't offered, and my colleague was offered. I was a bit disappointed, and I just thought, no, like, I am better than this. I should be doing something else, and I could feel myself that after that happened, I was procrastinating a lot. I would not respond to an email, and I was just, were not happy. And that was because probably in 2 years I reached the plateau of which role I was doing, and then in that pre-sale, what the scope was. I wasn't learning anything. My trajectory kind of like stopped, and I wasn't realizing it. So there was I would not name it because I haven't I had the permission, but I got a mentor. She was a lady. And I approached her. She was in the same field, and I described what I'm going through, and it's really hard, and I need a helping hand because I don't talk to anybody in the office. I'm a really silent person. And she guided me through ability to identify what is important to me and how to get there, have the end goal, and how do I work back. She changed my life, and I wish I would have asked the permission to say her name, because she changed who I was. A mentor can really make or break a mentee. So after that, after her constant encouragements, I applied for in Vodafone Global. That's different to Vodafone UK. It's an umbrella company that sits over there, and I got kind of like double promotion. So I was given 2 levels up role. And that just boosted my confidence a lot. And I started studying again. It was challenging. I was challenged every day, became exciting. And I wasn't looking for a new job, because I was pretty happy for where I was. But I think I was contacted by Microsoft, and they offered the role. I loved the role. And I think what helped me in the interview the most was I didn't have that pressure of, oh, I have to impress. I was just being myself. I'll get it. Fantastic. If I don't, I'm happy. That kind of give me a very good position to present who I actually am, what I'm passionate about, without any pressure. And kudos to those interviewers as well. They did a fantastic job of relaxing me as well. So that's, I think, the end of it. So when Microsoft said, this is the offer letter, and I was like, whoa, really? Yeah, wow. So this has happened, and this is history.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's great. It's a great story you got as well. Like, where you've been, where you come from, and everything else. So yeah, it's a great story. So you're at Microsoft now, and you spoke kind of what the role is, but so what is it day to day that you kind of do? Do you have to do too much? Like, do you do just speaking a lot to customers? Are you customer facing? Do you do anything kind of like events or anything like that outside of that?
Yeah, so it is customer facing, it's customer intensive role, I would say. So I am can say in a very simple words, the technical contact expert, advisor, consultant for the customers we are aligned to. So the public sector I'm looking after, there are a few customers that are aligned to myself. By aligned, I mean they can, we form a strategy on daily basis with customers. So what are they looking for the next few months, and how I can help them to achieve their, whether it is to skill them up or reviews or any kind of assistance that can make them go where they want to go. So that kind of, that is basically the overall crux of the role. Other than that, the events could go from internal to external. So we are highly encouraged, and I love that. So as I told you, my passion is right now overall Azure, but mainly networking and ABD. If that means going into colleges and educating, or going into some companies or some user groups, regional user groups, and having a session there, discussion there, that's kind of encouraged, and we do it on not daily basis, but you can say a weekly or monthly basis. And apart from that, I think the really good part of this role is you get to mentor other people as well, not only internally, but externally. So right now, for instance, I'm mentoring a girl. She lives in US, and she's a teacher, and she contacted me that I heard about your profile. I looked at it, and I'm really passionate about cloud. So where do I start? So I'm kind of like mentoring her to get to her cloud journey. So all kinds of activities from customers to like mentoring is a daily part of my routine.
So Microsoft do very well when it comes to obviously mentoring. I know that from looking at my LinkedIn, there's a few people that I know from working in the past have recently joined the Embrace mentoring program, Microsoft. So they're going to be, helping build interview skills, making sure their LinkedIn profile rocks, as well as their CV, and then obviously building up a personal development plan. And so there's quite a few guys that I know are actually in the minute they're going, I'm really excited to be a part of this. If you know anyone that wants to be mentored, then point in my direction. So I know Microsoft are, from all our guests that we've had on, they are very supportive, no matter in what position you are in your career and within the business as well.
Yeah, that's about right. And I think in Microsoft, when you are in that community, you can truly be yourself. And I'm not saying it just the sort of saying it, but whoever I am, I feel really comfortable in sharing my opinions, bringing myself to work every day. And that happens because, as you said, there's an Embrace community, and we have different kind of communities from all over the world. There are events that are dedicated to that community, and there's a certain kind of comfort that enhances the ability of you to work with your colleagues when you know about their culture, their thinking, what is something could be really good for me, but it couldn't be really nice for somebody else's eyes, and you get to know about different people and you respect that culture. And I think that kind of collaboration environment is very healthy to work in, and that's how I feel. And Embrace is a big part of it, as you mentioned, Andrew.
So what's the difference between obviously working for, like, say, Vodafone and Microsoft? Are there any big differences that you've had to kind of adjust to since moving from Vodafone to Microsoft?
Yeah, so I think both companies have there are a lot of people who have come across. So from Vodafone to Microsoft, and Microsoft to, I think, Vodafone as well. So there's a big community even that I know of in Microsoft that's come from that. So what is it tells me, and we talk about ourselves when in here is both companies, it's a same instruments, different songs kind of thing. So there's a similarity and a dissimilarity there. So I think the good thing about Vodafone is, if I'll think about it, is the work-life balance. Their work-life balance is superb. So they will not overload you in any shape or form. So if you can't really work beyond 9 to 5, they would not encourage you to do it. They will encourage you to have a healthy lifestyle, have a healthy, being, and give proper time to your family. Nobody's going to email you on the weekend. They will get really annoyed if you do. So that kind of culture is promoted in Vodafone, and that's really important when you're working in that environment. The other thing, I think Vodafone is undergoing a lot of transition in this modern age, and they're adapting really well. So that adaptation attitude, which is new in that environment, that because telco world was a bit static in their ways, it's attracting the people who can bend, who can change, who can on a daily basis, and that's a different kind of property that you develop in working in that kind of environment. Microsoft is really good from the diversity perspective. I think on the diversity scale, the amount of people from different backgrounds, different races, different classes I've seen, the mixed bag represents, you get to know different cultures in Microsoft, and they work as one Microsoft. you don't really see, a distinguishing that, this work belongs to that and this work belongs to that. And for instance, one of the example is a very good ratio of women in as a cloud solution architect. I think they are almost 50-50 in our teams, and on the management, I think they're aiming for it, but it's closer to that as compared to Vodafone. I think that's fair enough to say. And the other thing I think the really good about Microsoft is the learning, the stress on constant learning, that your learning shouldn't stop. So if that means that customer engagement should wait, customer engagement should wait. So your learning is really important as an individual in Microsoft. And that attitude, I think, is who I am. So learning is really important to me. And that's why I think this switch was quite healthy and I made the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds was it the Embrace program you spoke about? Is it Embrace? Did I get that right?
Right, sure.
Yeah. I remember, who was it that was on the podcast previously, had it up in the background. It was quite a big thing for them. The lady who's moved to Meta now.
Oh, you're asking, aren't you?
I'm so bad.
We've had so many guests on, John. You're really asking. Oh, I'm not too sure.
She literally had Embrace in the back of in the background of the podcast. Her name was.
I see it, John. You're on the spot now.
Kima Davies.
Oh yes, Kima.
Yeah, she had Embrace in the background of her podcast of her webcam and stuff. So yeah, it seems something that's obviously taken very seriously by Microsoft and the employees as well, which is great to see. And I think Vanessa Anderson is also on your team or works around there. So
yeah,
Vanessa,
she's in the same area, so customer success unit. Yeah, fantastic lady. Yeah.
So she used to work at CDW, where I work, and I think we're gonna have her on the podcast at some point. She's I don't know, scheduled in or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. I'll put a notification. I really want to hear what Vanessa is about to say. She's epitome of, analysis and getting things right, giving directions. She's really helpful. Anybody can rely on her. Fantastic lady, yeah.
Cool.
So as a woman in tech in the UK now, obviously coming over from East Africa, how do you find being a woman in tech in the UK? Have you experienced any particular challenges? I know that you're a mother as well. Do you have any like challenges around that space?
Yeah, so I think starting from my mother, as I told you, she was in Army and Air Force as a doctor, so she worked all her life, and I think seeing her was an inspiration. How I still don't get it how she did it so easily, and I can, I'm screaming sometimes in my head, and she was so calm, and that she was an inspiration for me. And whenever I have tough time, I always call her and get my opinion, and she's always, okay, take this seriously, and get your job done properly, and take set your priorities right. So for instance, what is your absolute not you should tell your managers. So for instance, if picking up my little one from school is absolutely not that I have to do it. Block that time in your calendar and tell your manager this is not comprisable. I'm just saying an example. So in women as a women in tech in UK, it's because I've got a comparison from Pakistan. Pakistan is a progressing country and it has come a long way. But when I graduated, there weren't any particular roles that I felt comfortable I can go for. So there's obviously a bigger space in UK for women, and somebody who has seen that side to this side, I feel that I am in a right place because I feel safe. I feel supported. I feel that I've got different options to go into. I can't just, be boxed in that, okay, you do just that. So I feel that I've got a, variety of things that I can achieve and go in that direction. And the one, I think that I've experienced, and I don't mind sharing here, is that as a woman in tech, and especially who is a brown person, you get microaggressions as well. So sometimes I find it hard that as compared to my white straight colleagues, I have to work a little bit more to get to that the same kind of attention. Or sometimes, and it's all over. It's not just one company or one space. It's all over, and we recognize it as a problem. This microaggressions or privilege, that certain people come from. What I feel that it's good is that when there's a problem, and if it is realized and accepted that this is a problem, that's a big step towards success. And I think we recently talked about within Microsoft in our unit that yes, this is a problem, this is an issue been reported, and this is the steps that we are going to take. So leadership takes it really seriously to mitigate or understand what somebody is trying to say. So somebody who is privileged, his or her experience could be quite different from what my experience is. So for instance, I think there were a few days back, my colleague was telling that she was on the phone, and she's also, from Pakistan. She was on the phone on the train, and somebody like shouted at her that you are being too loud, while that was not a quiet train, and she was going to office. So when she went to office, she's already in a setback mode. So she had that, and she could tell that that was microaggression towards her. If she was not that person, that wouldn't have happened. And nobody can understand apart from somebody like me. So she called me, and I shared that experience that she's not happy, she feels vulnerable, and she's got an important meeting, and she needed somebody to speak to that. So these kind of issues do come up. Having said that, as I told you, that this is a recognized problem, this is a recognized issue, and all you need is to be heard in your community. And I feel that you get heard in UK by people. They understand what you're talking about, and obviously take steps to mitigate any issue.
Yeah. So obviously, the point of this podcast is obviously to put a spotlight on diversity, equality, inclusion, and obviously having guests on from diverse backgrounds like yourself, and obviously sharing them kind of stories is obviously one of the reasons why we do these podcasts, as well as just being, a woman from tech as well. So yeah, thank you for bringing that to us, because yeah, I mean, I'm from a diverse background. My grandparents are from Jamaica, and I've got Irish family as well. So I understand the challenges, because I see it in my own family where they try and apply for jobs or have difficulties getting their foot in the door. So I could completely resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right.
So obviously I know that you're not really involved in the women in tech community currently, but what is your plans to be more active, and especially from obviously being from Pakistan descent, try and get more women from Asian communities into roles in Microsoft or in tech?
Yeah, so I think for myself, anybody, it doesn't have to be women in tech particular community. For instance, I do mentor startups, so women who who have got tech businesses and they are starting up and they're set up in Azure. So I do have a mentee who belongs to that area. So I love mentoring them. The reason being that they're trying to really pull or make a giant. It's not easy to start up a business to get going, and the tech business, the kind of challenges they have. I have an immense respect for what they're doing. So I do a lot of mentoring there. There is, again, I can't really mention. I wish I would could have a permission to do it. But I've got a mentee. She's trying to launch her, I think, product next month, and she's under a lot of pressure. So I'm on the side mentoring her tech-wise and emotionally to get there, and to use the resources that our mentoring program have to make her life easier. And the other thing, as I said, that mentoring people girls or women or of any age that are trying to get to this cloud journey, because I feel there are plenty of women in our community, that is, Pakistani community or outside our community, that wants to do a lot, but they don't know where to start. So finding them, if they contact me on LinkedIn, or if I come to know about a certain person who is trying to get there, they don't have to sign up for Women in Tech. They can just contact me, DM me, whatever, and I'll be there to help them out. And obviously, whoever is listening to this message, if there is somebody who needs it, just drop us a text, and I'm sure we can find some time to help them out as well.
So, what else, in your career, do you see yourself doing? What's the ultimate goal now for yourself going forward?
It's a very difficult question, and I think it's very easy to say I want to be CEO of XYZ, but for myself, I think I'm really focused on what I'm doing right now, and the future plan for the next 3 years is doing what I do really well, with my health intact and my child having my attention as well. So there is no big goal, I would say, that, and I've been really honest, that there is no big CEO kind of like goal there. What I want to do is, if I'm a cloud solution architect, let's be senior cloud solution architect or principal cloud solution architect, but in the same route. So I love, as I told you in the beginning, I love this area. I fell in love with a few years ago. I'm still sticking with it. I haven't found anything else that will grab my attention, so I will still grow in that space and become higher, better, more impactful human being, and that's the goal to go.
Awesome. And as you just mentioned, you are a mother. So what's like childcare like working within Microsoft in the UK? Because obviously we've spoken to a number of guests recently who are, are young mothers returning to work. And obviously, from as a person, obviously in the UK, I know what childcare can be like, the challenges around that. Because obviously my partner works. He works for a government organisation. Obviously, I work for Fujitsu. So obviously, childcare can always be a bit of a nightmare. Making sure one of us is home to do the school run and stuff like that. So, how is it for yourself?
Yeah, so it can become challenging, and I have only one. So I respect people who have got more than one, because I think that's a hell of a task. Having said that, I think my mother has been a big inspiration in that. She made it seem that what is possible, and having your priorities right is the key, as I said. So what is your absolute not, where you can be flexible. And for instance, for this month, the days I'm not in at home, and I'm not saying that I'll be in Scotland or God knows where, literally means I'll be in office. So that means I won't be here to pick up my child at 3 or 3:30 when he gets off school. So I WhatsApp my husband, this date I would not be here, so he has to make sure that he covers it up. The rest I'm here. So my preference is that my child sees me every day. So I designed my work around that, and Microsoft is very supportive of what your lifestyle is. So if I say that from this time to this time I have to attend my child, then it's all about communicating it to your manager, and then you set your work around that clock. So nobody is going to discourage you from doing it. I think that's a really good thing. But it doesn't mean that I don't have to plan. I still have to plan and be have a good communication with your partner is the key. He knowing what I'm doing, and I know all the time that what his priority list looks like. And literally at the beginning of the month, or at least 14 days, we know that when he's not going to be at home, or I'm not going to be at home, or what our schedule looks like. So that communication, I think, helps us a lot to take care of our child. And I think one key thing that sometimes even I have to remind myself is the time you spend with your child has to be a quality time. So don't be on the phone, don't be looking at the Outlook, don't even think about work. And it's really hard sometimes if you've got a customer call and you're constantly thinking about it, and your child is asking you about something, but you're not 100% there. So my mother told me, when you shut down your laptop at 5 or whatever it is, your work is finished. From 5 o'clock, whatever, in the evening till 9 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to open your laptop. You're going to be with your child. So there's nothing you can do about work. So just be with him when you're with him. But when you're at work, don't think about him. Don't be guilty about, oh, I'm missing that, I'm missing this. You're not. So don't feel guilty when you're doing work. So I think separating two worlds mentally is really important as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're kind of running close to ish runtime, so I think we've got a couple more questions. I know we've got work to do, and you've got we've got some other arrangements and stuff. But one question I wanted to ask you is, if you could give advice to a young Maryam going in school, what would that advice be?
Be very vocal about your passion, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter. If it is music, if it is dancing, if it is hairstyling, looking like a doll, whatever it is, even if it is tech, it doesn't have to be, just what is don't look at the world as, oh, this is the trend, so I should do that. Don't look at that. So right now, if the programming is a trend, if that's not your passion, that's not your passion. Whatever is your passion at that time, it doesn't mean that it will be your passion for years, but what it will teach you is to stand up for yourself, and do something that you're really passionate about, and see what hurdles, how you come up with your hurdles. Own your own mistakes, own your own decisions, and be very respectful to your parents. And it doesn't mean that you have to pick apart and fight with them, but be very vocal about your passion and goals. Don't seek out, if there's a girl there, young Miriam, who has got the same passion as me, that was computer science, find different resources. Nowadays, there are plenty of libraries, there are plenty of open resources. Go get them, try it. There are plenty of people in LinkedIn that could help you out. Just reach to anybody. If one says no, the 100 will say yes. So just keep on knocking on the doors, and don't fall short on, if somebody says, no, you can't do it, don't take it as, if your heart is saying, I can do it, don't take it as a downer for yourself. And I think that's you fail when you accept that I'm not going to go in that same route. You are going to be successful. Doesn't mean that your algorithm is going to run at the first time. It's just keep on writing it and keep on doing in the same passion. So I think that's the only message I would pass it on to little girls like me.
Yeah, I think that's a great bit of advice. An absolute great bit of advice. Always follow your passion, because if you follow your passion and do what you love, it's not going to be. It's not like you're going to be working every day. It doesn't feel like a job. You're doing something that you love. So yeah.
And don't be
like this podcast, John.
Yeah, just like this podcast, eh?
Yeah. And don't be scared of the failure. Failure is good. Failure teaches us about who we are, how we deal with it. Don't be scared of failure. Failure is a part of a journey. If you have failed, that means you have learned something. So don't be scared of failing. Just keep on going. So I think that's really important for somebody who is really young. We get to those kids get discouraged a lot when they fail and they don't know how to buck themselves up. Just remember, fail or not, just attempt it. Go and attempt it. Don't be scared. Yeah,
definitely. Andrew, you got anything else to close with? Or
No,
I think that's a great thing to end on, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely.
And by the way, Andrew, I failed in my first interview. That was with Fujitsu. So after Vodafone, when I was looking for, I told you the promotion I didn't get in Vodafone, I was a bit sad. So I applied in Accenture and I applied in Fujitsu. Fujitsu was my first interview, and I was big fool. I was thinking I knew everything, and I just went there and I made a total fool of myself. And they said, who the hell are you? And my second interview, I was a bit prepared, and I Accenture, and I got the job. However, at that time, the COVID hit, and I was not sure to get that, so I still stayed with Vodafone. So yeah, the failure. I started with failure, by the way, in the interview. So there you go.
That's amazing. You've been an absolute fantastic guest. So much inspiring things littered into the conversation that we've had, and yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
As episodes like this are brilliant, because me and John don't have to ask many questions. We can sit back and enjoy listening to the episode live. So.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed myself as well.
Cool. Anyway, just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you to Maryam for being a wonderful guest today. And as always, we'll see you on the next episode of the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
And bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. please make sure you hit that like, share and subscribe button to help us promote our message. You can also follow us on Twitter at MSFT Spotlight, and we're also on LinkedIn, the Microsoft Spotlight Podcast. And finally, we'd like to tell you a little bit about BitTitan and thank them for sponsoring this podcast.
Remote migrations start here. Let Migration Wiz do the work for you. It's fast, secure, and 100% SaaS, which means you can migrate at any time and from anywhere. Migrate mailboxes, documents, public folders, personal archives, or even Microsoft Teams with just a few clicks. No special training needed and no customer downtime. When the work matters, choose Migration Wiz.